I've been wanting to make this meat chicken video because there were several things that I wish that I had known before we did chickens the first time. Now, I said the first time we did them again, it wouldn't have changed our mind, but there were some things that we really wish that we had known going into it. The first and biggest question is, how much feed do they actually eat? There are so many people that talk about how wonderful it is to raise meat chickens on grass, and they get so much nutrients from the grass, and you don't have to feed them as much food. And we have not found that to be true. The first year we raised meat chickens, we did it in the fall. They came in the middle of September, and the last butcher day was December 1st. We gave them a little bit extra time because we knew that it was going to be cold and they were going to need that extra time to put on the weight. We ordered 51 chickens to get the discount, and we ended up, they sent us two extras, so we had 53 chickens, and we lost two before we moved them into the tractors. Don't know what happened. They're meat chickens. It happens. So the 51 chickens ate approximately 18 pounds of feed in their entire lifespan. So the next year, when we did it in the spring, we thought, oh, hey, it's not going to be as cold. It'll be easier for them to put on the weight without eating as much because they won't have to work so hard to stay warm. And they ate 17 and a half pounds of feed per chicken. So that is the information that I wanted to know. So many people are like, oh my goodness, you can make so much money. You can sell them for $25, $30 a piece. I'm like, yeah, you can. But quite frankly, you have $10 to $15 margin, and it's an awful lot of work. Take it for what you will, do with it what you want, but that's how much feed our chickens have eaten in the 2 times that we've done meat chickens. So how much do they weigh? The first year, we had a 4.91 pound average on all 51 chickens. The second time we did it, when we did it in the spring, and they ate the 17 and a half pounds of feed per chicken, they dressed out, and these are dressed weights, not live weights. Dressed weights averaged 4.6 pounds for the 102 chickens that we ended up processing in that time. I don't want to tell you how much it costs us for the feed because feed is so different in so many different places, and we buy organic. You can buy what you want, but just know 17 and a half to 18 pounds is what our chickens ate. So you can figure out how many chickens you're going to do and how much money you can spend on feed. The weather really does affect how fast they grow. If it's cold, the energy that they are eating, they are going to use that to stay warm. We have heat lamps in our tractors because it has been so cool, and they are still, I think, struggling to put on the weight that we would expect them to. So just be aware that if you're doing it, that's why people do it in the spring and summer, right? They don't do it in the winter when it's so hard to keep the space warm. It was suggested to us that we weigh the chickens about a week before we're butchering, because that last week they will put on a pound of weight, and so you can know, is that actually when we can butcher, or should we go longer and put on the weight? One thing that I do with our chicks, whether they're layers or meat chickens, that I've not heard anybody else do is coconut water. So you can buy so many different products for electrolytes and minerals and probiotics to give your chicks a boost when you first bring them home. And I think that's a great idea. But there are so many products, and we are trying to be strictly organic in what we feed or give to our chickens. So what I have found to be helpful, and the chicks really like it, I have 2 watering cans, always 2 watering cans. One is fresh water with nothing added to it, and the other is about a gallon, gallon and a half, and it has 1 carton of organic coconut water added to it. There's nothing extra in this. It is only coconut water. And it's been amazing to me how quickly they will drink down the coconut water. Now, last year I thought it was because the watering can that had the coconut water was red and the other one was blue. I thought, I wonder if they're just like the red color better. So I switched, and they still went through the coconut water very quickly compared to the fresh water. I do that for about the first week, and I think that is just a wonderful way to give my chickens the extra boost and minerals and all the good things that are in coconut water. Yesterday, when I was thinking about what to include in this video, I asked my husband, what do you wish that you had known before we did chickens the first time? And he said a couple of things that I will share now. Another thing that surprised, well, two things that surprised us the first year that we had chickens was how many we lost. I think we were a little bit more surprised last year, but I think that was our fault. We left them in the greenhouse in their small confined area too long before we moved them to the tractors. But chickens, meat chickens specifically, are bred for quick growth, and that is not the best for their body systems. Some of their legs give out, some of them, their heart gives out, and so you can expect to lose some. How many depends on the hatchery you purchase from and just the general health of the chicks. There's not really any way to predict how many you will lose. There's another thing that we realized the first year. If the chicks are bored or are not on enough fresh grass, they will start to peck each other and they will cannibalize each other. So there's a product that we bought last year from the feed store that will just spray on any of the open wounds, and it prevents them from continuing to peck at it. And it tastes bad, it helps it to heal, keeps it clean, and it heals up just fine, and the chickens will leave each other alone after that. But just be aware that that is a possibility if your chickens are too crowded or bored. In this section of the video, I'm going to talk about the equipment that we use and what might be a little bit different. There are so many videos talking about how to build a chicken tractor and different styles. So I'm not going to go over all of that in detail, but I do want to tell you what we've done differently and what I wish that I had done differently. So this first tractor is 6x10 that will hold comfortably 37 to 40 chickens. It's getting moved every day, so they are on fresh grass every day. It's 2 feet tall, and the one door on the whole entire thing is quite a bit of a challenge. So we either have to send our kids in or squat really low. I squat really low to go in and retrieve a chicken or whatever the case may be. With the chicken wire that I put on it, poultry wire, whatever you want to call it, it's 3 feet long. I started it at the top, and so there's a foot that lays on the ground. That helps us with our particular property not being completely flat, completely level. If there's a dip in the soil, we can lay that down and make sure that nothing can get in as easily and the chicks can't get out. This tractor is built a little bit more in the style of Joel Salatin. It is 10x12 and extremely heavy. I was trying to use as much scrap wood as I could, but there were quite a bit larger pieces. Some of them are 2x6s that got cut in half lengthwise, and then I used them on the top here and bottom here. So there's quite a bit of weight to this. We're actually going to cut it in half down the middle here and add a wall and then like close it off again, so it's two separate tractors, so that it's not quite so hard to pull up our hill. With the chicken wire that lays on the ground, I have these hooks so we can get it up while we're moving the tractors and then pull it back down and put the rocks on top of it. So this door has 2 little hooks on each side and lifts up. If the board is behind, sometimes it won't stay up. And then you've got this big huge place that you can put the food in or the water, and I'll show you what we use for the food feeder in just a minute. So then on the front of each tractor, I have a length of rope, and it goes through some holes in the wood, and I just pick it up and pull it up to the next place. The first year that I was moving them, I'd reach through and pick it up, and I got kind of tired of the chicks pecking at my fingers. It's cute when they're little, but when they're almost ready for processing, it can get a little painful. I pulled the tires off of some kids' bikes that were too little for them anymore and just used those on the ends, on the back side. I would definitely redo this one on the little tractor, both tires. They are not very sturdy, but let me show you what we did on the bigger tractor. So again, kids bike tires, but this time we got a really long bolt and put a piece of PVC pipe here for stability, so it's not tipping up and hitting the tractor, the chicken wire at the top, and then a couple of bolts or nuts on the end, tightened against each other so that it won't come off. And it actually works really well. The first year that we had the chicks in the small tractor, we went through so much water. At the end of them being in the tractor close to processing day, the kids and I were actually having to come out 3 times a day to fill up their feed and water. They were going through so much. That was absolutely exhausting. So with all the other stuff that I'm doing in the beginning of summer. So I talked to my husband, and we together came up, him mostly, came up with this solution, and it works really well. I'm just going to show you what it is, and hopefully you can figure out, because I don't remember what all the parts are. For the water tank itself, we just use this black tote, and in the last week or so, we have to fill it up about halfway at night. We fill it all the way up in the morning after we move the tractor, and then about halfway at night, and that gets them through. They go through a ton of water. And then we have that guy on the inside, a valve on the outside so that we can turn it off if we have to repair something with this full of water. Hose connected here, and then a long bit of, what is it, 2-inch PVC. There are so many joints because on these cups you have to screw something on the inside of the pipe. I think they're made originally for buckets where you can reach your hand inside the bucket. So we had to have so many joints in order to screw the washer on the inside of the pipe. And these are weighted ones, so when they are full of water, they're heavy and it closes the valve. And then when the chicks drink water, it lightens it and it lifts and turns the water on. And they work really well. The only issue is that we should have put the pipe higher on the tractor, because the chicks do tend to step on them. They haven't broken any, but it tips them over, and so they don't fill up and turn off. So I think we had a couple of times where the pipe twisted and all of the water ran out. So we got to figure something out with that this year. One other thing that we do a little bit differently than any of the other well-known people that do pastured chicken, we do end up covering the main part of our tractors with plastic, and then they can come down on the sides at night, or if it's windy and rainy, there's a board on it to keep it weighted down. Our spring was really strange. We did it in the winter or fall and processed December 1st, the first time we did it. So we knew that we needed to have an extra bit of protection for them so that they were actually able to use the calories they were eating to grow and not just to stay warm and stay little. So we had the plastic on for rain and wind protection and to help hold the heat in. We do keep heat lamps in there, because like I said, our spring this last year was really cool, and we wanted to make sure that they were warm enough. So we just have one in each tractor, and it's plenty big. They can get away from it if they don't need it. The feeders that we use are these guys. I made them myself. I don't know. I think I saw a picture of them somewhere, and it was like, that seems like it would work really well. So the first one I made has a dowel on it from a closet that we were redoing. I would not do a dowel again. It just invites perching on top of it. They all invite perching on top of it, and they do, and they poop in their food. It's what chickens do. But this one, I put a wider piece on it, the top, and it just doesn't seem like it gets quite as much poop inside, but they can still get their heads into the feed. So anyway, they're about 4 feet long, 5 to 5.5 inches wide where the feed is. That's not counting the board thickness. And how tall are they? The feed spot is about 5 to 5.5 inches deep as well. So all 3 of these, when we fill them up, pretty easily fit a 40-pound bag. We will put one in each tractor when we split and have 3. We had 2 in the big one last year. They're really sturdy, really easy to just pick up and set into the tractors. Yeah, this one I used old pallet boards, and it works really well. This area that I'm in right now is where they are for the first 2 weeks. It's a lot more protected. They have more heat lamps, and they're just easier to tend in this space when they don't have any feathers yet. So this is how I transport them from. It's an old greenhouse that doesn't really let the sunshine in, but it gets warm. So use that to transport them from the greenhouse down into the front yard where we keep the tractors, and it just makes it a little bit easier. So this will get cleaned out, a couple inches of fresh bedding, pine shavings, and then bricks for all the waters and feeders and everything in here. So they do get one of these in here, and we nestle it down into the pine shavings so that they don't have to jump up quite so far the first couple of days. They can jump pretty quickly, and then after that it just gets on top. I really like the height on this one because it just helps not waste quite so much food, and the pine shavings don't get into it quite as easily. This last part of the video, I want to share with you the things that we have found to be extremely helpful for processing day. I'm not going to go through the whole process and tell you all of the equipment and everything that you need, because there are so many videos already about that. So what we have found particularly helpful and things that we've learned along the way. So the first year that we did meat chickens, we borrowed equipment from some friends of ours who were willing to come and help us process and teach us how to do it. My husband is a hunter. He's processed plenty of things, but we've not done chickens. So they came the first year and taught us how to do it. And when we were preparing to order chicks for the second time this last spring, we sat down at the computer. My husband's getting ready to order them, and we were thinking 75 chickens, right? We're going to do 75 chickens so we cook 2 at a time. And most weeks we have them. Sometimes we're just tired of white meat and we want red meat, so we just skip a week. So anyway, we were going for 75 chickens. My husband said, I have an idea, honey. What if we order more chickens, raise them for other people who will then come and help us on processing day? And his plan was to choose specific people that he knows that are hunters who process meat on a regular basis, so that it wouldn't be quite so challenging to teach them how to process chickens. So that's what we did. We ended up inviting 2 gentlemen that my husband knows. We raised 20 chickens for each of them, and they helped us on our 2 processing days. And then they paid us back what it cost us to raise the chickens, which was about $15 per chicken, which is, for an organic chicken, is an extremely good deal, in my opinion, depending on how bad that was on their bodies for processing day. Something else that my husband said was very important was to have people who are hunters helping you and a detail-oriented person. Because the way that we did it was my husband and my kids would grab the chickens from the tractors, dispatch them. My husband would dispatch them, put them through the scalder and the plucker, and then the 2 gentlemen that were helping us did the eviscerating table. They took care of the heads. My son did most of the feet. He was so excited, and took all of the guts out. And then I got them at the end, and I did the quality control checking, where I'm making sure that they actually got all of the stuff out on the inside, that they didn't miss any feathers. And then I'm washing them off and putting them into the ice water. Having people who are skilled with a knife and know how to butcher, and someone who is detail oriented, because there is not quite anything worse than having a homegrown chicken that has a whole bunch of feathers still in it. Disgusting. Another tip that I found that we really needed was ice. Lots and lots and lots of ice. You do not want to put warm chickens in your freezer, especially if you're putting in any decent amount. It will warm the entire thing up, and it will take forever for them to freeze. So we used 2 big trash cans lined with black bags filled with water and a whole bunch of ice. but we definitely need more ice. I will be using our trays to make a lot more than we did last year. It was a very, very important part of processing day. So a lot of people actually do 2 butcher days, and we found that to be very helpful. So the first day last year, when we ended up having 102 chickens that made it to butcher day, we butchered 80 chickens in the first day with the 4 adults. And the second day, we did everything else and cleaned up all the equipment and whatever. Having 2 butcher days, so you can kind of pick out, oh, that one's still a little. Let's give that one an extra week to put on the weight. And then you can just make sure, like, kind of pick and choose which ones are big enough, hopefully, to get the weight that you're aiming for. And when you're doing a processing day on any type of thing, make sure that your lunch is very easy. Um, it is an exhausting day. You're on your feet the entire time, and being able to just walk in the kitchen, pull some things out of the fridge, pull the lid off of the crock pot, and have a meal ready to go is very, very nice. So we did both days. I just did a bunch of taco meat, and we just did a taco bar. They had burritos or tortillas if they wanted to do a burrito. I had chips if they wanted to do nachos. Just a very simple and very well received meal. I don't know if I missed anything that I found helpful in raising meat chickens and the things that I wish that I had known going into it, but we really, really like meat chickens. It's a lot of work when you're raising them, but to know that we have all of the chicken that we need for the year in the freezer is very reassuring. The first time that we did the meat chickens, I would just buy the chicken thighs from the store, the 10 pounds of chicken thighs ready to go. And I had some left over after we processed chickens the first time. I decided to just make them for dinner and get rid of them. And what I was doing then, and we really liked, was wrapping some chicken in bacon. And I just made it. You can put cream cheese in the middle of it. It's really good either way. And my husband ate dinner and he's like, that wasn't our chicken, was it? And even I, who'm not a foodie, I'll drink Folgers coffee just as well as Wild Rivers Coffee Company coffee. I can't really tell that much of a difference. I notice a difference between home-raised chicken and store-bought chicken. It is massive, and it's so much better. And knowing that I got to control the food that they were eating and their living conditions just makes it that much better. So I hope that you ask any questions that you might have thought of that I didn't cover. I'd be more than happy. I think people raising their own food is marvelous, and I want to encourage anybody to do it. It's absolutely wonderful. So I hope you have a great day, and leave me any comments, questions, anything that you might want to know about raising meat chickens, and I'll do my best to answer them.